Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it is Sunday night and it is time for another live stream. Second one this weekend for those who have been paying attention. I need to adjust that camera a bit. That's an awful lot of space above my head is what that is. I hope you are all safe and well. I hope it is all working. That needs a bit of adjustment. That's a bit better. That was an awful lot of space above my very bald head then, I noticed. So, I hope you are all safe and well. Tonight, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a few things I want to cover. There's a few things really interesting to talk about. We're going to talk about these. Yes, they are back together. For the doubters, they are fine. Absolutely fine. Although, I did do something in the teardown, which I'll talk about, but they're fine. But that's what happens. But it's a bit of a learning curve for me. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We're going to talk about some new products that have been released. We are going to talk about some stuff that I've seen as well. And we're going to chat and have a nice discussion as we always do on a Sunday night. Now, there is something I want to get out the way before we start this stream properly. And it's going to be a stance that I have on this channel around something, and it is about this. Obviously, this is BL Heli 32. Let me just get myself in the right place. There we go. BL Heli 32 basically no longer exists. BL Heli AS is no longer trading. However, we have started to see a spate of products, those products, whether they be ESCs or drones containing ESCs, shipping from manufacturers with test versions of BL Heli 32 installed. Now, I have discussed this on the channel before. This is BL Heli version 31.10 or BL Heli 31.9.2, and these are test versions that were never intended for public consumption. Now, this is a bit of a controversial subject. I just want to bring something up to show you guys on this. Let me just find it because it is important and we need to make sure that people understand this properly. So let me just find the image that has now vanished on me, which is always the same. Where has it gone? Where has it gone? There it is. Okay, and I'm looking for this image here. So it's products with things such as what you see here, which is early test versions of BL Heli 32. Now, I've been doing a lot of digging around this, and I've talked to people, and there are things that I cannot say. But what I can say is this. The information I've been given is that there is no more licensing of BL Heli 32, period. ESCs that ship with BL Heli 32, 32.10 or 32.9 that are legitimately licensed are old stock that has been in the supply chain. That is fine. ESCs, though, that are shipping with BL Heli 32, which is version 31.9.2, 31.9, 31.10, are shipping with unlicensed, illegitimate software. BL Heli provided that software to manufacturers for them to be able to test their hardware. That software was never intended to be ever placed in the public domain. That software may or may not contain restrictions or bugs that were never fixed because that software was never intended for public use. Manufacturers who are selling ESCs with this software installed are basically committing software piracy. It is unlicensed. They do not have the right to be shipping ESCs with that software on because it is against the terms and conditions of use. It is against the licensing. Now, my stance on this channel is going to be this. There are a number of products that I have seen with this firmware on and I have highlighted it. I am not going to refuse to review a product with this firmware installed, but my stance is very simple. Manufacturers who are selling products with this on are basically committing software piracy, and I will not endorse that, and I will not recommend that product. My stance will be very simply, here it is, here's what it's got, but I cannot recommend you buy this because this software is not legitimate. That is the only fair thing that I can do, and this is likely going to get me even more blocked by a number of vendors, but I'm sorry, I cannot support manufacturers selling products with unlicensed software. It is different if an end user bought an ESC and flashed it with firmware that they found online that was unlicensed. That's down to each individual person, but it is not right that manufacturers are selling products with this software pre-installed from the factory as it's okay for you to use this. And that is my stance. And there will be something coming up in the next week with this on, and it's unacceptable. It really is frustrating for me because I don't want to have to say, I'm sorry, I like this product, but I can't endorse it because of potentially software piracy. But these manufacturers have a choice. They need to either get on board with AM32. I have heard on the grapevine that AM32 is not doing too well in smaller drone categories. I've got no proof of this. This is just what I was told. It doesn't work as well, apparently, but they need to get on board with AM32, choose a different ESC manufacturer. We're going to talk about another ESC that's been launched today. There are options. What is not an option is to sell products with illegitimate software. And that is the issue. So, the stance on Mads Tech channel is, I'm not going to refuse to review, but I will check every ESC, every drone that I am sent, for what firmware is installed on the ESC, and I will be highlighting that as part of the review when I make the review. So, I just wanted to be clear with everyone on that. Now, moving on from that, there's been a lot going on this week, actually, around ESCs, and it's worth us talking about this, and one of these is today, because a new version of the Voltara has released. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about this as well, because today they have just launched a mini 50 amp version of the Voltara ESC. Literally an hour or so ago, this has launched. You can see an image of it there. 25, let's just get to the specs. Let's close that. You can see there, it is a mini 50 amp ESC. 37 by 37 mil with the wings, weighs 12 grams, 20 by 20 mounting pattern, 3 to 8S compatible, burst current 60 amp. Same as the other one, full current sensing on each one. So you can see shunt resistors on each one there. Really great to see. I actually, and I'm going to say this, I've been flying this not as much as I wanted to because I had a review I've had to finish of something else first. I'm behind on everything. I am so behind on things, it is insane. But I've been flying this a bit in the last couple of days. This is the low flow frame. I've spoke about this before on the channel. This is the low flow. My overhead camera's gone off for some reason. This is the low flow. Boo! Oh my God. Oh, there it is. There we go. The build, I showed you it last week. This has the Voltara 70 amp and a KISS Ultra on board. This is my test build for this. I love this frame. Genuinely, this is one of my favourite frames I've flown, period. I've always liked low deck frames, but now I've flown it. I love this frame. I'm just sorry, I do. I like low deck frames. I like frames that are nice and short as well, and I love it. It's like the it's FPV frame. I really like that frame as well. You know, this isn't in a world on its own. It's a really good frame. The review of this frame is coming this week, but it is really, really good. I really like it. What I'm also going to say is this. I have been slightly impressed by just how well KISS Ultra and the Voltara fly out the box. On the standard rates, it's quite numbed. And look, I'm not a big freestyle pilot. Come on, you guys know me. It's a little, just a little bit too laid back even for me. I don't like quite so much stick movement to get it to move is the term I'll use. What I do like though is they have quite a lot of expo out the door. And actually, if you're just getting into FPV, it's set up really, really nicely. What I will say is, other than a couple of tweaks to reduce the expo on a couple of the axes and increase the rates, it flies phenomenally well. It feels so locked in on this frame, it's crazy. Honestly, it really, really is very, very good. It's just tight. The term I will use is tight. Straight out the box. Really impressed with KISS Ultra. I had an Ultra, which I burnt out, which I never got to try properly. Full standard rates, it just feels really, really good. Now, I've got the Voltara in this, and it's really nice, but they've now got this new 50 amp as well, which is really good to see, because you can have this now with the Ultra Mini, the small one, which is really cool to see as well. There's some really great products running out there at the moment, ESCs wise. This is really a very, very nice setup indeed. I'll be honest, I think if you're getting into this from scratch, I think it's easier than Betaflight. And as I showed on last week's stream, all of the cool stuff on the menu systems when you go to the Ultra configurator, there's some really nice stuff here. There's some really nice stuff. I can see, right, why people start with the KISS Ultra and never change. I can absolutely see why people do that. And if you look at Betaflight in comparison, I can see why people get lost. If you started with this and you just try it and you like it, I can just see why you just wouldn't mess around with anything else. Now, I have played with the proper OSD, but I haven't recorded it because I had to flash it for my V2 goggles. I put WTF on and all of that mess, but you can't easily record out of them. So I've had to use the goggles too, because I was able to record this display. But I can genuinely see why people who get into KISS are just going, I don't care about anything else. I'm just going to stay with this. And I haven't even tried the GPS stuff yet. I think it's going to take me a lot of time to get my head over all of the different functionality. What's really cool as well is you can fully configure the ESC via the UI, which is nice. Which is cool. So, look, I really like that. I really, really like it indeed. I think it's just, it just flew very, very well. Very, 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 very well. The frame helps. I like a short frame. I do like a short frame. I always have. You know, my favourite frame was always this thing. Look. This is a low deck. This was always one of my favourites. This is a really old Thug FPV frame, and there's a middle finger under that. For those who know these frames, now I've had to 3D print all sorts of parts for this. This is an oldie. This frame is like 2014. It's a monster, single bottom plate with arms that go through. It's been messed with, bolted with. This thing I've smashed, I've crashed. There's mud everywhere on it. This is my sort of bashing frame, and I've just loved this frame. I always have. It flies really well. It does what it says on the tin. It's a horribly nasty build, this. But look how old these motors are. These are ancient DYS Race Editions SE2205s. You don't find motors like that anymore. You don't find motors like that anymore. Honestly, they don't build quads like this anymore. But this is the modern day equivalent. Really is. So the frame video will be going up the middle of this week. There's no way that piece of crap flies well. It's got nothing to do with what you think is a piece of crap. It's about how it flies. Remember, that's like mid. Yeah, I think they were building frames since 14 to 16, weren't they? They were around Thug FPV. Were around. I'm sure I've got some old Thug FPV builds from like 2014. They've been around quite a long time. They're not here now, unfortunately. You had the Pig. You had a number of other frames, but yeah, I've got 2 or 3 of their frames in boxes around here somewhere. That thing's been rebuilt about 500 times. Maybe 600 times, but I've always kept, I think I changed the motors on it once. They're even starting to rust, but keep them going. So, but look, I can really see why people like Kiss Ultra. I genuinely can. So this is the low flow. Really nice. I put a big DJI camera on this because I had a spare one. I'll have to have a look because I've got videos of that frame on the channel somewhere. But yeah, this is a really nice frame. Just this. Really impressed with how the Ultra works. But look, it's nice to see the 20mm mount ESC. If it's good as the Voltara, it's good to see some nice products hitting the market. It really is. It's good to see some nice products hitting the market. Yes, that's built. I built that. That's. I slung this together this week. I didn't... Look, this isn't a clean build. I didn't do this as a really clean build. It's thrown together. You know, I just wanted to get it in the air. Side mount ESC as advised by the manufacturer. Yeah, so I threw this together this week. Printed the TPU parts. They didn't come with the frame. So, just... It's literally... I put no real effort into making it tidy, hence the reason there's gaffer tape around the capacitor and the TBS diodes. But, yeah, very nice. I just like it. I just like the frame. So it was one I slung together in the week. So really cool. I like that. I like that a lot. The only thing that... if I build them, not bad for me. I find it interesting that you wouldn't have a clue what my builds are like, so go fuck yourself. Kiss is as good as Flaxco. SpeedyB app. The UI is definitely nice, but it's much better if you use the DJI one. You know, so it's yeah, pretty no complaints, just no complaints at all. So new ESC hit the market. It's available, €80. Yes, you're paying a bit more for this stuff. Don't whinge about the price. If anyone's going to whinge about the price, go buy yourself a SpeedyB stack, right? It's really simple. The frame, I think it's €70. The ESCs are expensive. There are lots of cheap components out there. If you want to buy a cheap Chinese component, go buy it. That's fine. But there's also a good market for high-quality components built by small-size manufacturers like Voltara, Kiss, and many, many others. So that's you're going to pay for some of this stuff. So that's the situation. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about quickly is this. And this is quite interesting. Because this week, TBS have actually published the specs for Crossfire. Now, for those... No, let me rephrase that. This week, TBS have actually published the specs for CRFS, not Crossfire. Now, if you don't know the difference between CRF and Crossfire, Crossfire is the over-the-air protocol between the transmitter module and your receiver. CRFS is the protocol between either the receiver and the flight controller or your radio and the transmitter module. So this is the internal protocol that you see on either side. Now, there hasn't been a fully published spec on this up until now. The likes of Express, ELRS and others have all had to sort of reverse engineer it to get it to work. Whereas now there is an official spec that's been published by TBS for it. There are interesting things around this because, look, is this going to be everything everyone wanted? The reality is probably not. The reality is, in the absence of data and proper information, the likes of the Express RS dev team and others would have done what they wanted in certain areas, and that probably doesn't necessarily align with the specification now. Whereas you can probably, I'm guessing there are some areas where things don't quite align because you guys have had to do things because you didn't know and you weren't told, and now a decision's been made that it should work like this. Oh, it's not aligned a lot. There you go. But now we have an official specification. However, does this mean that everyone else, like Express ELRS, will have to conform to that specification? And the reality of that is no. Really, it will depend what happens in the likes of Edge TX and Betaflight and others. Whereas if they all start to conform to this, it will force the others who are not to. Not necessarily saying that's a good thing either. It really will now depend on how the endpoints react. So Betaflight, Edge TX. Really, that's the big two. If they start moving to fully support it as it's published, I guess that could cause some problems for everyone else. Or we could end up with this bit of a weird situation where you have the official, I'm going to use official CRFS, CRSF protocol and the one that everyone else is. So let's wait and see. I saw things like this happen with DroneCan. For those around, DroneCan turned into a complete mess because they published a specification and then in version 1 release, they wanted to change everything and it caused all sorts. But what this does mean is for people who are interested in knowing how it works and if they want to integrate a system themselves, there's now a published specification out there. It's taken some time, but TBS have actually delivered on it. I'm not going to reply on that, Wes. I'll be fair. So there's a lot in this. It's interesting. I think fairness should be given to TBS for publishing it because they said they would. And yes, it's taken a long time, but it's good to see that it is finally out. So credit where credit's due. We should always give credit where credit's due on this. And I did see Mike popped up on the Express ELRS Discord causing a little bit of trouble in the week. That was quite fun to watch. TBS seem to be around a bit right now. So, yeah, let's wait and see. I suspect controversy will not be far away. But I'm really, genuinely, I am looking forward to apparently whatever this wing is. I want to see it. I want to see it. I've heard some good things. I've heard some other things. But let's see what happens. I've heard all sorts, is what I've heard. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. I think, like everything, there is always complexities, and there always seems to be something. But I'm looking forward to it myself. I genuinely am as a product. But I will... What I'm going to say is this. I will be buying the wing and I will be reviewing it as a useless, non-really wing user. I intend to buy the bind and fly. I don't really want to build one. I hope they have a fully programmed, out-the-door bind and fly version. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. So, are they going to run Ardra Pilot or are they going to run iNav, I wonder? Because Trappy uses Ardro a lot. I wonder if he's going to use Ardro on it. I saw it, Wes, but not a great deal. Speaking of wings, did I see limits? No. I know Betaflight are doing a lot as well. You know, Betaflight are smashing it left, right, and centre. Not really many picks out there. But look, I'm going to buy one. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting to see. Lemon does fancy stuff. You must make a review. I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. Someone's just said I must make a review of this. What is it? I don't know what that Bangla 3000 is. Sorry. BL Heli, I discussed at the start of the stream. Blitz. At the very start. But look, let's wait and see. There is a lot of interest. There is a lot of hype. There's a lot of people very interesting. I will be very keen to get to grips with it honestly and openly, as I always do. And in fact, this picture, this really did make me laugh. I put a picture up. Now, I don't usually take sponsors on this channel. I do it very limitedly with a very limited number of people. But I was pleased on this. Now, for those of you guys who didn't see the live stream last night, I did a live stream of a teardown of these. And these were the words that I said in this live stream with my sponsor. So my sponsor was Grey Arrow Drone Club, who have been an incredible supporter of the channel. And this is why I said I like to use them, right? And this post really did make me laugh on their forum. And one of my one-liners from it was last night, having Grey Arrow's Drone Club as a sponsor allows me to tell DJI to go fuck yourself. And that is the truth. And that's why if I use a sponsor on this channel, very limited, very select, and I only do it with certain things because it really helps, but it gives me complete freedom. And you're going to see from me this week another bridge that I'm burning all around that Betaflight stuff, that BL Heli stuff. And I can only be honest, and I can only tell you guys the truth. And that's all I can do. So, but that's why someone like Grey Arrows, who allowed us to be able to buy these, helped. So, and they did this to allow me to not destroy these, basically. Now, for those who didn't see, and this does push us on to DJI quite nicely, for those who didn't see, I did the full teardown video of these last night. It's out there. We did it. We ripped them apart. They're back together now. They're fine. Some observations, very easy to take apart. Once you understand how to get these apart, bob on. No issues at all. Some things, though, we learned about these goggles. And one of the big ones that we learned was the fact, and I don't think any of the reviews covered this, but they probably didn't know, that these goggles do not have GPS built in. DJI, with the goggles Integra and the goggles 3, built-in GPS. So when using these goggles with the Avata 2, you could have full remote ID capability in the USA. Whilst DJI have added a position for GPS on these goggles, there is no GPS built in. If we go to the desktop, for those who haven't seen, I did a full teardown. You know, this is one of the internal images of the full module on the front there. You can see the full optics, the full front end. Let me find some of the other images from the casings and everything. You know, this is how far we tore these goggles down last night. For those who haven't seen, we literally stripped them to pieces. But what's very interesting is inside the goggles, and you can see it here on this image actually, DJI have left space up the front here for what I'm going to guess is GPS. But on the board, this area here is where the GPS should be. It's just unpopulated. They've even labeled it GPS. So if we take a look at the PCB in detail, you can see here this whole unpopulated area with the GPS antenna port, but it's been left unpopulated. Now, I have now done the full internal images of the PCB. This is the first you guys would have seen them. These will be going up to FPV Wiki, so you're now seeing the main PCB. So this is the RF side. Some interesting things. This appears to be the S2, but DJI have labelled this different. It's got a new number on it. ACG2430B/H. Now this usually had the S2 label on the top of it for the chipset, but DJI seems to have changed it. Now at first I thought this was actually smaller, but it isn't. It's the same size. But there's the chipset, the Eagle 3 TBP now, slightly new number on here. We're not sure what that's about. But that's the board on that side there, so you can see the main PCB. And then on the back side, there's not a great deal to show you on the back. Pretty much the same setup as we've always had. You've got another NAND flash, and then you've got your power amplifiers up here. DJI still using the IE1000s, still using... Ooh, I've just spotted something. Still using 2 power amplifiers. Wow, I've just spotted something. I've spotted something that I read differently compared to the spec. So, there are 2 of the main PAs, but 2 of them, they're not the normal PAs. That's the normal PAs. So that means only 2 channels are fixed transmit. I thought I read in the FCC documentation any of the 4 channels could transmit. That's interesting. So I knew it's 2 transmitting, but I thought it was any of the 2 could transmit when I read the FCC docs. But now I've just looked at that, I've gone, no, they can't. Only 2 of the channels can transmit, which will be, in theory, 0 and 1. Looking at this layout, it'll be antenna 0 and 1. And antenna 0 and 1 will be, I should have a picture here with the cables on somewhere. Actually, no, I've got it in video, not in this part here. I've got that in a video form. 1 second. Let me just find that in video form. Let's find that. Here we go. So that's that one. So that will be, if we just check this out again. So if we just get ourselves to the right position. Oh God, keep moving around. So we're going to flip this over. So bottom there is 1. So that bottom one and then the middle one. Okay. So that's the bottom cutout. So that one and that one. So the 2 top antennas are definitely the transmitting ones. These 2. There you go. That aligns now. That's fine. They're the transmitting ones. Now, what was a really cool find in these goggles is the fact that these 2 antennas are not omnidirectionals. They're actually patches. I missed this in the FCC documentation because this was said in there and I missed it. I messed it around. I missed it. I just didn't catch it. But these are basically patch antennas. I've put together this document which shows the different antennas, but I haven't put what transmits and receives on this yet. But I have put this together to show you what the antennas are. So you've got your top 2 antennas, linear polarized OcuSync antennas. These are going to be your 2 transmit antennas. These are 2 dB at 2.4, 1.5 dB at 5.1 or 5.2, and then 2.5 dB at 5.8. And then we've got our patch antennas at the bottom. They're not massive patches. They're not hugely directional. limited directional, and actually the radiation pattern on them is pretty horrible when you look on the DJI website. When you actually look at what DJI have published for it, I actually have an image here. Here is the radiation pattern from those antennas. Directional, they are directional, okay? It's a loose term, but they are directional. But yeah, pretty horrible. But that's the radiation pattern of those antennas, and at different frequencies, 2.4, 5.2 and 5.8. The middle one is a duck. Yeah, 5.2 gigs. It's a duck. The 5.8 is really not great. Let's be honest. Directional is the term I'll use. But yeah. It gives you an indication. But look, that is... look at that. That is the layout of the antennas. I've just got to tweak this a little bit for what's TX and what's RX. As Junior said, they could be mixing it around. They could be, because the PAs have switches in, don't they, Junius? If I remember, those PAs actually have antenna switches in them as well. But I like this image. I put this image together as an overlay of the two images into one as well. How do the antennas compare to the Goggles 3? They're all on par. All of these top Omni antennas are always about 1.5 to 2 dB. Pretty much every omnidirectional antenna, which is a dipole, is about 1.5 to 2 dB. Right? There's no difference. It's basically, you're only gaining through the nulls. That's all you're ever doing. You got a null at the top and a null at the bottom. And that's where you're gaining. So that's where your 0.5 of a dB is coming from. You got 3 dB on the front. You've got about an extra dB on the front antennas on these compared to the Goggles 2, the Goggles Integra and the Goggles 3. The 2, the Integra and the Goggles 3 are all omnidirectional antennas in the front. They're not directional at all. So this does have some directivity compared to those goggles. How well this works, though, remains to be seen. The real sort of challenge on these is, whilst it's quite easy to take these goggles apart, upgrading these front antennas would be possible, but you're going to need some different coaxes. I need to try and figure out what connectors are on these for the antennas. These are not UFLs, they are IPX connectors. Where are they on the board? There we go. If we look at this image here, you can go in and you can see these are the smaller IPX connector. If I go over to, actually, if I do the full size one, that's probably a better way of doing it. So to give you an idea, so if I zoom into that level there, that is a standard UFL. Okay. And if I go over to this side here, that is the antenna connector. So you can see they are smaller. They are the small, tends to be the type of connector you see on a Wi-Fi adapter antenna. Larger center pin, smaller overall connector. So it's not quite as straightforward as putting pigtails on this. That's for sure. You're going to need some specialized ones. I'm going to have a chat with Hugo at TrueRC to see what he thinks. But yeah, different connector altogether for the antennas. So, but you can see them down there. Quite interesting though. Not particularly difficult to take apart, if I'm honest. The goggles aren't. When you look through the images, you know, overall interesting. Something else I will add is this is a fake vent. Matt at CarWow would be deeply unhappy with this vent. This vent is not real. This is a BMW fake vent. DJI is playing the fake vent game. The stick of truth would fail. The stick of truth would find the truth about this vent. It is not a real vent. Only that vent there is the real vent. So, yes, failed the stick of truth test. Did that one. Really, the airflow on this is sucking in from the inside of the goggles. and then it vents out of there. So yes, even DJI is playing the fake vent game. There, you can see the directors on the back. This is really cool. I've not seen DJI do this before, and they've basically built like a Yagi antenna in the goggles. So what you have is the main antenna element at the front. So if we look at the plastics a minute, first of all. So if we look at the front of the plastics, okay, here is the antennas on the front, which actually connect to the goggles, right? They are stuck out on the front, and you can see there we've got the connections for them. They're then air gap behind them of about 4-5 mil, and then stuck to the front of the optical module is these patch antenna, these antenna sort of stickers that are mounted in the right place, no cables, no attaches, and they're basically reflector elements. If you look at them, it's like the back element on a Yagi beam. It's really, really quite clever. I've never seen DJI do this before. So they've actually stuck this onto the back behind the antenna, and it acts as a reflector, just like you have on a Yagi beam. For those of you who don't know what I mean, if I search for Yagi beam, so when we look at a big old Yagi like this, so here's a nice, let's go a nice picture of a Yagi. That's a nice one. I like that one. So what the nice thing about this shows us is, so here you've got your driven element, your main element, which will be a quarter or half wavelength, whatever it is. You've then, behind this, got your reflector element. Your reflector element will always be a certain bandwidth, wavelength wider than your driven element as a reflection element. And then you've got your director elements at the front, which again will be maybe a quarter wavelength shorter, something maybe like that, which again help guide it down to the driven element in the middle. And what DJI basically have is these two parts here. That is what DJI have built. You've got the driven element on the front of the goggle, and then you've got the reflector element at the back. And it's really, really cool. Really, really cool. It's just stuff you don't usually see. 2 elements, yes. So there's no directors at the front. There's nothing else on the plastics at the front. I did have a look at this. Probably the antenna would be all over the place without the reflector. Yeah, I'm not convinced they did it for gain. I'm not sure. You know, it's hard to know what the design choices were. But it's something new we haven't seen from DJI before. So very cool. Very cool indeed. That one. Internally, lots of interesting stuff. I will have my full review of these goggles going live on the channel tomorrow, and that's a proper review. Now I've spent a lot of time with them. A lot of time. I spent a week with them. And then there'll be an antenna video coming in the near future just to discuss that as well. And then the teardowns on the channel if you want to see it. But I think DJI have done a great job with these goggles. They're certainly not perfect. They're certainly not perfect. DJI did not send me these goggles. These goggles were purchased by me by having a sponsor on the channel who has nothing to do with DJI. Which is Grey Arrows Drone Club. So they support now and again when we have a release like this. And I want to say a big thank you to them because they've been a great supporter. The reason I chose to do this, and here's just the reason I did the sponsor on this, there was a very real possibility, A, I would destroy these goggles in the teardown, and B, I had to buy these with the Neo kit to be able to get them now. If I was buying them myself, I'd have waited till the end of the month for DJI to release them as the standalone. But as my sponsor stepped up, and as I said on the stream last night in my own words, Grey Arrows Drone Club sponsored, because that allows me to tell DJI to go fuck yourself. And that was why I have an external sponsor. And I did that last night when I tore them down. So that's the situation with DJI at the moment. To give you just some thoughts on these goggles quickly, and I will cover this in the review tomorrow night. Overall, I think they're incredible value. They absolutely have some quirks around the displays. They have a surprising amount of stretch corners or pin cushioning. I'm calling it pin cushioning. The corners are very stretched out. They also, for me, the optics are not perfect. There is quite a lot of reflections. But for $230, no-brainer. A complete no-brainer. There is no good reason to choose another goggle for that price on the DJI side. Now, I do see people saying, what about these versus the Goggles L? It's a pointless comparison. You choose the system, not the goggle. You look for the goggle once you've chosen the system. The goggle is not what should dictate what FPV system you buy. The FPV system should dictate, the features of it should dictate what system you buy. Could you DIY 04 monitor out of it? No. DJI have got a custom connection. Did you fly the Neo with those goggles? Yes, I've flown them with the Neos. So, I think for the price, they're incredible value. Incredible value for what you're getting. But there are a couple of downsides. It's not that they're completely out of zoom. With the lens mechanism, for me, I'm getting some out of phasing focus is the term I'll use. I can focus dead on the center. If I look to the sides, because of the mirror setup, I'm noticing some slight out of phase. Other people don't see that. Junus hasn't seen it. Junus has got a set and he's not had that. That could be a combination of my eyes with these goggles. It's not usable. It's not completely distracting. It's okay. For the price, they're great value. Someone's asked, when will 04 be out? Probably January or February. I still think now. Look, I was told it was coming really soon, and I now believe it's been all kicked back till next year. 04 is probably February now. So that's the noise. When will a new walk snail system be released? I have no idea. Cadex have said zero to me. Here's what I will tell you. You'll have 04 before you have a new Cadex system. Cadex won't... based on what I know right now, you ain't seeing Cadex in the next 6 months. On what I know right now. And that's because I know nothing. I don't think... Everything I've heard is it's nowhere near here. No way they let 04 until... Remember, these goggles were not necessarily for 04. These are for the Neo. DJI have had to delay 04. So, it's a little bit behind. It will come when it's ready. Lightly Chinese New Year right now. There's even talk, I'm hearing whispers of some hardware changes. That's so, and if DJI are still making hardware changes, they're nowhere near ready. It's exciting, it's incredible, but they're a little bit off yet. So we'll just give them time. Cadex words 2 weeks, 8 months later. Yeah, look, with regards to Cadex, genuinely, I don't know. I know nothing. I don't even have a rep at Cadex anymore. But look, I hear whispers, and the whispers I hear are, it's not even testing. It's not even been tested yet. What Cadex will do, though, I wouldn't be shocked if they really tried to put something out for the O4 launch and ended up with a crap show. They need to be really careful in their next move, right? DJI left a lot of air gap for Cadex to fill with the first system and O3. So with the first system, they gave us 2 air units. With O3, they sort of combined them into one. But they didn't cater for the low voltage market, lightweight market, all the other stuff. So they left an air gap. Cadex filled that air gap, and that air gap was filled with Avatar HD, lots of different camera choices, small VTXs, which has been phenomenal. We all like it. But Cadex have also done a lot of this stuff half-arsed and left issues, not fixed issues, and half-baked the functionality. The app still doesn't work properly. The analog input and head tracking is an absolute joke on the people who bought the goggles. They've promised an upgrade module, which we haven't seen yet, and reliability has been a bit, to say the least. Cadex have to be really careful that DJI don't take this new found market too seriously, because if they do, they're screwed. Let me be clear. If DJI really decide to get into this, Cadex are screwed. They are completely screwed. They cannot compete on the level of DJI. So they've got to hope that DJI do some stupid things again to leave an air gap for them. That's the reality here. What will Avatar Version 2 bring? I'm going to say this. Be very careful to temper your expectations on Avatar Version 2. Look, you're not going to get... You'll be lucky to get O3 equivalent recording. If DJI really decide to go at FPV properly, Cadex have a big problem. Today, Cadex do still have 2 big advantages. 1, DJI won't give analog input, and 2, they won't give you HDMI output. But I also asked the question, how many people really need that? Genuinely, I actually think the analog input on the Goggles X is a complete waste of time. It's a joke, really, when you bolt the module on the top. That's not a solution. It's really not a tidy solution. If you have to do it, you can. But let's be honest, if you really want to fly analog, go buy yourself a set of analog goggles. That's the better way forward. And HDMI, how many people really need it? That's the interesting bit. How many people really need it? So they've got to hope that there's enough room. Can you remove the OSD walks now HDMI output? No. Do I know what the big antenna repeater of Cadex with the antennas? It's a repeater. I spoke about it on the channel before. It's designed to allow you to fly around objects, but it's got some huge, strange compromises as well. So, for instance, I was talking to someone about this, and he raised some really good points, and I never thought of some of these myself. Cadex repeater. So, Cadex have announced this repeater module. I now need to find the images of it. This thing here. Whatever this crap is. There you go. That's the internal images of it. Oh my god, I'm on some... There you go. So there it is there. Now, I need to find an image from the manual. Someone posted an image from the manual. Oh, annual. No, manual. Then there's some really interesting point that was raised to me. And look, I wasn't clever enough to think of this because I didn't really pay much attention to it. Because I think... Look, does anyone have the picture of the manual? I need to find the repeater manual. Let me find this elsewhere. 2 seconds. Let me find this. Here it is. Open this in a new window. So, this was taken. This is taken from the manual, I believe, okay? So this is the idea of the repeater. So you got your goggles here. Your goggles communicate with the repeater on 5.2 gigs. So the goggles downshift to 5.2 gigs. And then the repeater transmits it to the drone at 5.8. It doesn't forward the control link, so you're going to need something separate for that. But what happens if your drone is here and you've got that there? You're having to go from there to there, back to here. You put this on top of a mountain and you're here where you take off. How are you meant to communicate? It's going to be a right mess. So these are patch antennas pushing that way and these are patch antennas pushing that way. But if your drone starts here and you want to fly over there, this signal from here is having to go here. And is it going to work there? It's got some real weird compromises. Where this somewhat makes sense is you attach it over a drone. So you put it on another quad and fly it and follow it. Does control link go over walk snail? No. No. So you can, you know, there are some weird quirks. Look, the reality of this, we all know what this is designed for. We all know where this is for. It is nothing to do with antenna trackers and stuff like this. My understanding is it's a very basic repeater and forwarder. Will the Cadex release an updated version of the Goggles X with the head tracker built in? Yes, the new Goggles X production now have the 9-axis head tracker, but they don't have the analog module bay. That's a separate. That will always be a separate. But yes, the new Goggles X that you buy today have the 9-axis head tracker built in. We've already seen teardown images of these. It's for one-way missions. Dave S. hit the nail on the head. We'll leave that one there. So, as for Cadex and version 2, it feels a long way off. It still feels a long way off. Look, it's important Cadex are around because they are pushing DJI. But they've really got to pull their finger out and deliver some stuff now because there are too many things that are a complete pain in the ass and a nightmare. Example 1. The Goggles X app doesn't work properly, still even today. Example 2. Focus mode on the goggles avatar system really doesn't work properly. Or example 3. Cadex released the goggles with a head tracker that doesn't work and you need an external module for the early users. Although they are giving it to you, you've got to pay a $5 postage. Option 4. Cadex ship their gimbals, but they require updates before you can use them, yet they don't include the update cable in the box. Issue 5. They have been shipping goggles with the wrong firmware, and to update the goggles firmware for the head tracker, you need a special cable that Cadex also do not include with the box. Cadex have a habit of keep doing things that cause silly problems. And that's the real thing that's going to cause issues when DJI take it seriously. I am incredibly excited about O4. Do I think DJI are perfect? Oh, no. And there's some gotchas here. There are absolutely some gotchas going to come with O4. There always is. It's DJI. Never hide the gotchas. The gotcha on these was no GPS. None of the reviews mentioned it. Now, to be fair to them, they were probably shipped these from DJI with a Neo, and they used them with the Neo, which doesn't require registration because it's sub 250. But it is something that should have been picked up for the people considering these for the Avata 2. I do wonder if DJI will sell a version of these with GPS with the Avata 2 in the future, which will cost a little bit more. The fact the board is there, they could absolutely make a GPS version of these. And I do wonder if DJI will do a cheaper version to go with the Neo and a slightly more expensive version to go with the Avata 2. Due to the cost on these, it makes no sense for DJI to leave the GPS in and not have it used. They are so cheap, DJI will be cost-cutting down to the penny on these goggles. So taking GPS out on the Neo pack somewhat makes sense. So, look, it's interesting. It's not a big downer. Plugging the app in is fine. The only bit of a stupidity is where the bloody USB cable is, because the USB cable's on the top. So to connect your phone, you're going to have a cable coming out the top of the goggles. That's the bad bit, if I'm honest. They should have put the bloody USB port down the bottom, is what they should have done. That's about the only downside, really. But they might make a version of these, I guess. The remote ID requirements require the home point module? GPS module done. That's interesting. Never thought of that. USB GPS module. I wonder if it works. I should try finding a cheap Chinese USB GPS module and see if it works. You never know, do you? That's actually not a bad thing done. They could ship them with a module that goes in the top, couldn't they? The fact they've populated the board does make me think they might do two. What do I think's better, DJI or Walk Snail? Look, it's not about what's better. I see these posts. I see posts around what FPV system is better. It's not. There's not one system that's better. It's the system that's better for you. So the fundamental question with FPV, digital FPV systems, is what is more important to you? Image quality or low latency? So get those two out the way first of all. So if you say to me, I need the lowest latency, it's got to be HD0. There's no option. Everything else goes out the window for now. Until DJI's race mode appears, at least, everything goes out the window. Then you got to say, okay, of the two systems that offer better image quality, what is the priority? Is the priority best image quality, out-the-box solution, but limited connectivity, or lots of camera options, smaller VTXs, 1S capable? And that was the option up until now. But that's all going to change when DJI drop 04. And this is where things are going to get a bit more murky. And when it comes to Cadex and DJI when 04 launches, we're then going to be talking, do you need I/O or do you need DJI? Because if you don't need HDMI or analog, then I'll be honest, DJI is the best way forward. Am I going to forget about OpenIPC? OpenIPC is not a product. OpenIPC is still a development project. It is not a product to even be considered for anyone getting into FPV for the first time. I'm sorry, it's not. And it's not even a product. It's a DIY project. It is not a product. So this is the question mark. So when it comes to buying a system, the question is which way you go with. Then I would say this. Do you intend to fly with kids? Because something I will say, and I do say this in my review, is that these goggles are not for children. They are way too big for kids. Way too big for kids. DJI actually don't really have a good solution for children today. The goggles L, on the other hand, on Cadex, are a really good young person solution. There's a lot of choice between the two. It's so. Walk is great for freestyle, but I couldn't get past the compression artifacts. That's the real problem I have with it still. Omar, you're same as me. The compression is horrific. Absolutely horrific on Avatar. It is horrific still. Especially if you fly green. Cadex still has the green issue. If you fly concrete, tarmacy places, it looks a lot better. The greys, you fly the greens and it falls apart. The moire, the compression artifacts in green Luma is just horrific, and it just falls over. 04 is gonna be very comparable, 04 Pro to the Action 4 Pro, to the Action 4. Very, very comparable. Almost identical. Does the chipset stop the goggles too from race mode? Yes, as we understand it. Do I think a GPS module is important on a 5-inch freestyle drone? If you're only flying a field or a bando where you can get your quad back, no. If you're flying long range, absolutely. Yeah, Juice makes a good point. Walksnail is terribly optimized compared to DJI's RF handling. Walksnail fixes that with RF power. Yeah, they're trying to overcome their issues with power, and it doesn't. Will 04 beat Vista in refresh rate? Both 04E units can do 100 frames a second. We need compression engineers at Cadex. I don't think it's as simple as that. You got to take into account Cadex are not the maker of the system. Cadex are a business that are buying in chipsets and tweaking the SDK to get it to do what they want to do. DJI are the manufacturer of the chipset, the software, and everything. They are so different. It's easy for people to think Cadex is as good as DJI. They're not actually, from a technical standpoint, even in the same country. The easiest way to think about it is DJI is Apple creating the M series of chipset for their laptops and writing Mac OS. And Cadex is Dell buying an Intel CPU and installing Windows. And that is the fundamental difference between the two. One is a company that is making the entire product from the bottom to the top. The other is a company that is putting the product together from the base components that they don't own. And that is the fundamental difference between them. Cadex will always just be a system integrator. Cadex is going to start developing in OpenIPC with Linux. Yes, Cadex are getting on board with OpenIPC. Lots of people are getting on board with OpenIPC at the moment. Cadex mess with Linux now, but one has billions of dollars. Yes. Yeah, iNav or Arduino for DIY camera drone. iNav of those two, I would say. Yes, I got the goggles back together. They're fine. I did do something to them, though. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Was to follow your comparison with OS. Yes, Cadex is starting developing in Linux. Yeah, they're starting to... Cadex is going to start to get there. And look, I'm not saying Cadex make bad products, but they are fundamentally different companies. They are absolutely fundamental different companies. I don't know how you don't go crazy with some of these questions. With ADHD and massively great ideas, but get to 80% bored and find something new and shiny. Yeah, Cadex has done incredibly well. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. Cadex have done incredibly well. Cadex's big issue is DJI waking up and going, what's this going on over here then? Wait a minute, what's this FP? Oh, look, they've been making someone. Oh, what have they been doing? Look, they've been making goggles. Oh, they've done. Oh, that's cute. Oh, we like that. Oh, okay. Let's put 10 million behind some development and let's put some more effort into that and make a bit of an impact. That's Cadex's problem. Cadex have massively benefited from DJI basically ignoring FPV. Other than going, here's an air unit and get on with it. If DJI really, really put effort in, they're in real trouble. Genuinely. Will 04 be comparable to the weight that are in Tiny Whoops? The 04 Lite is 10 grams. Why is my AMS open? Yeah, I leaves that one open. Just reading. Do they ship? I'm very late. Yes, you are. Yeah, and this is it. Look, the weight I've got of 10 grams is the light with the camera. But look, we don't have detailed specs. I have a weight of 10 grams for the light with the camera. Perhaps it will be without the camera. I don't know. I believe the 10 grams is with the camera. I believe. But let's wait and see. Look, you know, you're asking questions where things are still fluid. Do I think DJI will make that board to make a field monitor? No. DJI won't do a monitor. They won't be marketing it. There's not really marketing it. Someone would need to figure out that connector and create a custom connector for a display. That is absolutely doable on these goggles. I can't believe it. I can. I've seen the spec. How much does the NeoCam weigh? It's complicated. The NeoCam isn't a camera. The NeoCamera is a gimbal and camera. So it's again complicated. It's hard to really sort of compare on those things. Let me just look at something. It's actually 9.2 grams. Actually, that's interesting. That's air unit weight. So that could be excluding the camera. What I don't have is a weight for the camera. All it says is air unit weight. But that could be with the camera. I don't know. The truth is, I don't know. Until this comes out, we don't know. No, I don't have the Crystal Skies. I sold them. Yeah, look, I think if people are expecting 04 Lite to be ideal for Mobula 7s, Mobula 6s, it's not. Don't expect this to be Mobula 6 size. This is going to be more 2-3 inch. You're talking a bit more size here. 45mm props on the 75 Pro. Yeah, look, I think from that point size onwards, render. Look, people don't, you know, you're not going to get a Mobula 6 with, you're going to get one, but it's not going to be ideal. Also take into account the amount of power. I think, what's the Walk Snail Light weigh? You got to take into account as well. DJI are going to be shipping it with heat sinks. We need to wait and see what the weight is without heat sinks. Remember, DJI will be shipping this with heat sinks. So you got to understand it's not as simple. Cadex ship their air unit without a heat sink and it will overheat in 10 seconds, on less than 10 seconds on the bench. DJI couldn't even ship a product that does that. So you have to take into account DJI will probably still have stuff that we can take weight out of. Wait for the product to land and the full understanding first of all. We've got to wait and see. You know, it's just not clear at this moment in time. Right. A couple of other things I want to talk about. while I wait for some questions to come in. Let me just find it a second. You've just got to take into account DJI is never going to be all things to all. You're never going to be all things to all people. Right. A couple of things I want to talk about. TrueRC this week have released a new range of antennas. And this is what they're calling their core 5.8 gigs antennas. And these are quite interesting. And the reason I just want to talk about these quickly is these are basically direct replacements for like the antennas you get on the Vista, direct replacements for what you get on the Avatar HD, VTXs, O3, DJIs. They are a basic standard antenna replacement for general everyday use. And you're going to get an antenna here which is made with the quality of TrueRC, which is really good to see. They're called their Core series. They're available in left and right and circular polarized, and then you've got lots of different options available as well, and then you've got different colors available on them too, depending in the option that you want to go with. But I just wanted to highlight it because it's good to see some more basic antennas as direct replacements for what you get on the products. Not everyone wants big upgrades. Not everyone wants something that's going to offer a huge amount more. This is about giving you a high quality direct replacement if you were to break a standard antenna. That's really what I would say. I wouldn't necessarily even say you have to upgrade your antenna on your VTX. This is more, if you do break yours, I wouldn't be putting a Caddx antenna back on. I'd be getting something like this. 1.9 dBi, pretty typical. So I thought that's quite interesting. It's nice to see. TrueRC makes some great antennas. Definitely worth a look as always. Not cheap, never are, but they do make some good antennas. There are lots of other cheap options out there as well. I know people like. TrueRC UFLs have been hit and miss. Interesting, Josh. I've not seen that, but I haven't bought any for a while. I will start a riot if DJI does not add gyro data in ultra-wide in 04. I think it's only in wide. As far as I'm aware, it's only in wide. DJI cares about the bottom line and not FPV. Telling me you honestly think Caddx is any different? Don't be under any illusion that Caddx gives two shits about the FPV community. Any of them. Caddx, the only one who actually cares a bit is Carl. Don't be under any illusion that any of these brands who actually give a shit about FPV, what they care about is making money. Caddx, all of them, especially the Chinese manufacturers. Don't be under a delusion that none of them care. Radiomaster absolutely care about making good products. I think you've got to be careful to say a brand cares about FPV. Radiomaster care about making a good product in this industry. And they do care about how their brand is perceived in FPV, and they do care about doing the right thing. Radiomaster, probably more than anyone, care. But the rest of them, remember, it's an industry. It's a business. None of them are our friends. They're here to help us. They're here to make products they want us to buy. And look, I have a great relationship with Radiomaster. They're fantastic. But a brand is a brand. And at times, brands will do brandy things. And that's the way it is, you know? You know, they will do brandy things at times. They will do things that suit them and not everyone else. Has the bug issue appeared again on the N3s? No, not since. That was weird. Powered them on and they went into boot loop. How I got out of that was plugging them in on USB. Only when I plugged them in on USB, they then booted up properly. I don't know if it was a power issue. The battery is at 86%. There was no issues with the battery at all. And yeah, very weird. Very weird issue. Now, as I mentioned, I've just noticed on these goggles, I haven't clipped the front panel back in properly. I need to adjust that. However, that's not what I was going to say. I did actually cause a little bit of damage on these goggles in the teardown. Unfortunately, I scratched one of the lenses. It's my own fault, but I will warn you, be a little bit careful on the lenses on these. I can't see it. It's fine. It's optically fine. It's not a problem. But there, as you can see, I did manage in the teardown to catch that lens, unfortunately. But I can't see it in use. It looks absolutely fine. These things are going to happen. It'll be interesting to see how people find them in the real world. But yeah, just to show you it there. Don't know how I did it. Yes, it's a plastic lens. What I should have done was put some stickers over the glass lens. That's probably the mistake I made. I should have put some stickers on them to protect the lenses. Just reading down. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat now. We'll try and answer them, and then we'll move on to the next subject. All Omnis are basically the same. Anyone that tells you otherwise is trying to sell you snake oil. Basically, Tan is right. All Omni antennas are about 1 to 2 dB. 2 dB. 1.5 to 2 dB. Remember, and this is a great subject, actually. People get confused about antennas. Antennas do not make or improve signal. All antennas do is collect or radiate your signal. And they do it in different ways. And the fundamental difference between an antenna that's an omni and an antenna that's a directional is that it's just directing the light in a different way. Think of having a 100-watt light bulb in a light fitting in the room and it's pushing the light all the way around. That's your omnidirectional antenna. Take that 100-watt light bulb, place it in a torch, and with a reflector that pushes it all forward, that is your directional antenna. It is the same amount of light. It is the same amount of energy. The difference is you are distributing it, directing it, receiving it differently. So if you take an omnidirectional antenna, what most omni antennas do, like this one here, is to get that 1.9 dB. A standard isotropic antenna will be 1 dB. That is an antenna that receives the signal in 360 degrees. What this linear polarized omni will do is it will receive the signal all the way around and it will have what we call nulls. The null is at the top here and the null is down there. If we actually look at this on TrueRC, TrueRC will have a diagram here somewhere. If we go back to their antennas, probably on the Singularity. Yes, thought it would be. If we look at the Singularity, there will be an image. There it is. And that there is what the antenna is doing. It is killing the signal at the top and bottom, what we call the nulls. Top and bottom, the blind spot, the nulls. And it's picking, and what that means is it gains more signal around the outside. It is more sensitive. The old Omni donut, null at the bottom, null at the top. That is how the antenna is designed to work. But all you're ever doing with an antenna is changing its ability to receive signal from different angles. Now, what absolutely affects an antenna, though, is its internal conductor loss, or what we call efficiency. Antenna efficiency is an incredibly interesting subject, especially from a transmission perspective, because antenna efficiency is how much of the power you're putting in is being radiated and how much of the power you're putting in is being lost in heat as a result of resistance with the conductors that meet in the antenna. So if you take an antenna that is a very complex element, each of the solder points has a small amount of resistance, so when you're transmitting, you will lose some of the power in those solder joints, and that won't be irradiated. So that is really what starts to affect the quality difference on an antenna, is how efficient it is versus how well it's able to radiate. Now, what is quite interesting at times is when you start adding in SWR, standing wave ratio, which is reflected power. For those who don't know what it is, it's how much of the power that you're putting into the antenna is being accepted by the antenna. I'm not going to say radiated. Radiated includes efficiency. So what you should class radiated is power in plus less its efficiency. And SWR is the amount of power that is being accepted by the antenna to then go into irradiated and efficiency. And there is some interesting scenarios where you can have a high SWR antenna that actually outperforms a low SWR antenna because the antenna is actually more efficient. So it's not just about SWR, it's about S11, it's about efficiency, it's about how well that antenna is able to radiate that signal out into the real world. So there's lots of complexities around antennas. Angle antennas, dB loss, it's mostly 99% snake oil bullshit. Yes, there's loss in connections, but don't lose sleep over it. Don't lose sleep over it. Is it worth buying refurbished gear directly from DJI? Yes, absolutely. 03 will go as far as 25 to 100 analog without any antennas. Lol. Yeah. Yes. Impedance and resonance have an effect on SWR. One antenna can have a better SWR on one frequency than another. Absolutely. You know, an antenna is tuned. An antenna is tuned for a specific place. And in fact, it sometimes makes sense to tune an antenna off the band you want to transmit on, because you can have an S11 chart where you get a very sharp fall. And I don't know if Hugo's got one on here. You can have an S11 chart where it'll have a really big fall off down, and then the other side of the tail is a bit like a tick. So it comes off quickly and then slowly rises. So what you will then is actually tune the perfect point of the antenna at the lowest frequency and then carry it across. Where it gets complicated is where you have these tri-band antennas like on these goggles, because these antennas are 2.4, 5.2 and 5.8 gigs. And that's where it gets a little bit complicated. And that's where it gets a bit difficult. Okay, so whilst I'm waiting for any more questions, I want to show you guys something. The amazing people over at Flytribe, wearing the t-shirt, have put out a video, and this is worth a look. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you guys should consider checking this out, because they've put a video together, right? Now, I'm just going to mute my mic and play this a moment. Now, this is definitely worth a look. Put the audio up a bit. This is definitely worth a watch, definitely worth a look. I haven't watched it fully myself yet, but please do consider checking it out. And back to the drum and bass. But yeah, it looks really, really cool. Really cool indeed. There's probably a bit of echo on the audio now. But yeah, really, really cool. Definitely worth a look. Really well done. I really like the style of it as well. So, I'm not going to show you anymore. You need to go watch it. You need to go watch it. Very cool indeed. Very cool indeed. Really well put together as well. Really well put together. Okay, guys, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. Now is the time to ask them, because I will answer them if I can. Anything else this week? So, really, it's been an interesting week. Obviously, there's some stuff around the corner. We're going to have to wait. Have you experienced any lag on the DJI Fly Up OFI Live preview? Nothing I've noticed specifically, but I haven't used it greatly recently. I haven't been flying DJI a lot. I tell you, I was flying. Yeah, link for the video. Fly Tribe. I'll put the link in the chat now, guys. And I will put it in the chat at the end of the video as well, but it is there. No, going to watch it now. I've flown DJI quite a lot this week for a review that's coming up. And I tell you something I hadn't realised and played with for quite a long time was how bad the stuttering is in 30 frames a second mode. My God, was it noticeable this week when I was flying. I was down at a beach. I'll show you a little bit of footage, actually. Doing some recording on something. Where's the stabilized? It'll probably be this one, if I'm right. Now I've just got to find the video. No, it's not that one. It's got to be that one. No, it's definitely not that one. Where the bloody hell is it? Oh, it's that one. So, I was down at the beach doing some testing on something. And, this was just me testing a quad. I had to hand take off with it. What you saw there was me chuck it into self-level mode and basically take off from my hand, right? So what you'll see now is me take off in self-level mode because I didn't want to put it on the sand and then flip the goggles down and take off. So that's me taking it off in self-level, and then there I drop it into acro and head out for a spin. And I really did forget how bad the judder was in DJI 30 frames a second mode. It is horrific when you really start to play with it. I've had some dark days. It's been really quite grey and misty here. But I got to test a quad out over the water a little bit and just move it around the beach and have a play with it a little bit. I fluffed it this time. Oh, no, I didn't. Did I go down? I wasn't going to go down into the path because I do come around there in a minute and we'll come back and have another look. It's so dark at the moment. It's crazy. Now, this is stabilized with gyro flow at the moment. It's a cine quad is what this is. It's not a freestyle. This is a cine quad. And I went for a second run this time because I fluffed going in too early. And I take it along the path in a minute. But I just forgot how bad that juddering is in 30 frames a second. I jumped between 30 and 60. And I was just, Jesus, this is bad. It's shocking how bad it is. Obviously, O3 really struggles with the sun in its eyes as well. I would have loved to have gone down into the path with this. You can see I follow the path from a bit of a height. It was just too far for me to go to get it back when I inevitably caught one of the branches in the trees in the path. I would love to have gone down and followed it in because it would have been a great little run. It reminds me almost of Star Wars, this. I was so tempted to drop it down and in, but I thought, no, just we'll keep up out the way and not risk a single freaking twig sticking out and meaning I've got to go walking up a cliff to go find it, especially where there could have been people walking up there because it is a public walking path. But yeah, the 30 frames a second mode is horrific. Absolutely horrific. It really is. We had some nice days down here. Not brilliant, but they were nice enough. The tide had been there and done that, yeah. The tide had just gone out this day, so I was just sort of... This is a filming quad, so that's why I'm doing long runs. I didn't fancy climbing up that cliff for this one, if I'm honest. But I have had some nice weather, actually, now and again, when I've been able to get out. I am looking forward to seeing 04. I've got a bunch of flights off that. I did a load of. I was just... What I was trying to do was get low... There's some low footage as well over the water at some point when I find it. This was a much greyer day. This was earlier in the day. It was so dark. My God, it's been... Look how grey it is. This is not far from me. Look how grey it is down here. It's like... This is ridiculous. This was earlier in the day. It was like dark. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's not an 03 day at all. No. I was trying to get some footage from it, and it was just like, it's just... It's really hard to get nice footage out of 04 when the weather is like this. So I was just following the water around. And what I tend to do is low runs across the beach. I use it as a nice run at times to try and test the drone for how it's behaving on the slow. You know, I'm looking for vibrations. I'm looking for how it is. Wake weather's just horrible at times. You can see the type. It's just... But there's one that's even worse, actually. There's let me find the real grey one, because I gave up on this flight because I was like, this is so horrible. I don't really want to fly. Let me find it. It was just... Ugh. It's got to be here somewhere. Is it that one? No. Is it that one? Yes. Yeah, it's so dark. Look how dark it is here. It's just... Yeah, when the days are beautiful, it's beautiful. I was further up the beach at this point, and it was just... Could water reflect multipath in video signal? Less likely to reflect, more likely to absorb. Especially at 5 gigs. You're not going to get much through water at 5 gigs. But what this was more about, just low flights, trying to see how it performs, any vibrations, how's the camera stabilization working. This is with Rocksteady, so you can see Rocksteady on here as well. But really, it was just about understanding. But the weather, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. There's no good weather here at all. No good weather here at all. Twilight. Yeah, that was like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was so dark. It was like, I can't believe it's actually this dark, considering the time of day it is. 10 a.m. That dark. Just, winter here is hard. Winter here is, it's not like where you are, Stu, in your fricking country. Rainy day, dusk at 10 a.m. Yeah. It is Wales, to be fair, yeah. Yeah, no, look, it did brighten up later in the day. And you got some nice footage here and there. Use a negative ND8 next time. Yeah, there was no filters on that. It's not 120 degrees F out. Yeah, no. I got down the field for a couple of tests on the first flights on the KISS Ultras. God, it was wet. I was afraid to go near the ground. Honestly, it was so wet. It was ridiculous. Where is it? Let me just find it here. It was like, oh my God, my feet are soaking. I didn't want to put it near the ground. I was afraid to put it near the ground. I think this, if I'm right, let me just check. Yes, this was the first ever flight on the KISS Ultra build. First flight, first test, just to check it worked, just to make sure it was fine. The throttle caught me out a bit. You'll see me doing some basic tests now just to see how it feels. This was literally just a, does it fly? Does it fall from the sky? How does it feel? The rates were a little bit low. Just a bit of a feel for the quad on the field. Because, again, what you want to make sure is nothing goes wrong. Nothing falls off. It doesn't, it doesn't just fall from the sky randomly. But the amount of water on the field here was crazy. I was well out of practice with height as well. But I was just trying to get a feel for how it moved around the field. And the first flight was perfect. There was just no issues at all. You can see the water where people have been, right? It's left the tracks all over the field where people were. That's the view of the footage you get from the low flow frame. You've got, that's the amount of prop in view. It's a nice amount of prop. But yeah, it flew. First time I saw it, I'll give it a try and see how it feels. I didn't want to go near the ground. I wasn't risking water. I wasn't risking anything. I just wanted to see how the pack was, just moving it around. I always test quads the same way. I move the, I'm trying to understand some throttle pumps. You'll see some pumps of the throttle in a minute just to see the hang time, how it behaves. Just overall, just feel the quad around. I was a bit off on the sticks there. I didn't have the amount of movement I was happy with between the sticks. I adjusted that next time. So again, you're just getting a feel for a quad. I see a lot of people test drones in stupid ways. Never test a brand new quad over water, over anywhere you can't get it, and just fly around a field where anything's going to go wrong, you can go and pick it up. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything dull. Just make sure it behaves as it should do. And just start to get used to it and have a feel for it. And just don't take bloody risks. You don't need risks on a brand new quad. You need to make sure it behaves the way it should. Nothing comes loose. You haven't messed something up. A wire comes off in the build. That's all it is. All I was finding with this was there was a lot of throw on the sticks, a lot of expo out the door, as I said. So I then spent some time just getting to feel with it on this flight. And then on the second or third flight, I think it was, it'll be not that one. I was messing around with the menu. Is it this one? I actually tried a self-level mode one as well. Yeah, now I was just adjusting the rates. That's where I was just checking the rates through on the screen, because you can adjust it all on the remote. And then I think the second time that's not a long flight, so it won't be that one. I didn't take off on that one for some reason. So this was second time I was just trying to I was checking it was recording. I needed to adjust the OSD. Still a bit off on the throttle. I wasn't quite the way I wanted to. But then sort of now making it see how the sticks felt, how my yaw and my pitch and roll was behaving together, because I was trying to just get everything synced, get everything the way I like it. But I have to say, I do like these quads. This is, again, just shakedown in a field to make sure it's doing what it should be doing. You never want to do anything crazy the first few flights. I'm always a bit dodgy around those trees as well. I've been caught up by a branch. I caught out a branch on a different quad this week and ended up ripping an 03 air unit cable to pieces. For those who didn't see, I completely obliterated an 03 air unit cable this week. So, yeah, this was just, I think, the first 2 flights at the field, happy with it, and then take it out from there. But yeah, just, look, if you get a new quad, you get a new build, don't do anything dull with it. Take it to somewhere where you can control it, where you get used to how it's behaving. That mud pit, right, that is my nemesis. I lost a quad in that one day. Honestly. That you will lose a leg in. You go near that. I am so thing around that. It's crazy. But yes. Yeah, it was just getting used to it. I have to say, I really liked how the Kiss behaved. You mean, don't forget to Loctite your motor screws, lol. I've not done them on this build, I don't think, but I think they had them on them. But yeah, just, you never want, I remember poor Ken Dobo had that loss on that quad he was sent for review. Didn't he? Flew it over water and it fell out the sky. I like 5 or 10 flights on a quad in a field before I go near water. And that's the same. You might have seen those flights on earlier over water. I'd already done 10 flights in a field before getting near that. I didn't want to go anywhere near that water until the quad has been in the air. You want to make sure that you're comfortable that something dull isn't going to happen, because when you don't, you do things like I did and drown a brand new ESC when it fail-safed into the sea. And I fail-safed a build into the sea recently because of something that I did. For those that didn't see, I need to find that. I'm not sure where that video is. Let me just see where that is a minute. Where is that hiding? And I'm trying to remember what that is hiding under. I need to find that one. Oh, I think I've put it there. Actually, have I? Raw. Let me have a look. You'll like this one. For those who haven't seen it, you will like this. Is it this one? I think it might be. Or is it not? No, it's not that video. We have the underwater drone, but where did it go? That's the question. Where did the underwater drone go? Horror videos for us. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Why is that vanished? It's not that. Oh, yes it is. Is it that? Yes, it is. I found it. So let me mute the audio on this. I found it. So if you look here, yes, this was a brand new build. And yes, that's salt water. That's where I found it. The battery was still attached at that point, look. I was trying to disconnect the LiPo before doing anything else. Brand new LiPo as well. Brand new build. Failsafe kamikaze into the sea. With no good reason at all. Oh, you want to have seen the corrosion on it. Here's the failsafe. Here you'll see. Right, I am full in view. Cool, this looks terrible. This is Avatar HD. We've been looking at DJI. This is Avatar. Look at the difference. Watch. So I'm here. I was just flying up the beach, turned around, and it just failsafed. Just failsafed completely randomly. So there, I was flying up the beach, round the bend, and it just went, oh, into the water. I was not a happy man. You want to see what it had done. You want to... It's a shame I can't show you all of the footage. All of the... At some point, I'll be able to show you what happened to the ESC. That day, I also did that to Chris Ross's frame. That same day, I also did that to Chris Ross's frame. Nose down into a field. I was having a bad day that day. Didn't bend the frame though. It didn't bend the frame, but it was a lot of mud. A lot of mud. Where was me trying to clean this? Where is it from here? Yeah, it was an awful lot of mud that day. Yeah, here's the oh no, you guys can't see. Oh, God. Right there. It doesn't want to put it in the right window. There we go. So you get to see it there. What was... I even got mud in the motors. It was pretty bad. And it landed straight in the freaking mud as well. I had a bad day of failsafes. Just random Express RS RX failsafes. And I still don't feel... One of the receivers was definitely faulty. That first one was a bad Express RS receiver. In the end, I binned the receiver. I just binned it. I kept getting random failsafes. That one also failsafed into the top of a tree the day before as well. Which I ripped myself to pieces on. Yes, so... But Chris's is fine. The AOS is fine. It's over there. Something interesting. Did you guys see... And I thought this was interesting, actually. Did you guys see JB's build video on Ross's frame? JB put a build video together on Ross's really fast rocket. Ross's love toy is what I'm going to call it from now on. So JB put a build video together, and I have to say, I sent JB a message. His voice at the start of this video is horrific. When you hear the tone of his voice when it went wrong. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you've got to hear JB's voice when it goes wrong. It is the sound of, oh, for fuck's sake. It really is. I so felt for JB in this. I really did. Let me put the system audio on. I'll play this a minute, only the start of it. It's worth a watch, this. Oh, wait there. I've muted it. Have I? Yes, I have.
You footage of someone going over 200 miles an hour with an EOS HS-5, but there's one problem there. It's not legal to go over 200 miles an hour in the United States without a waiver from the FAA, and they don't give out very many, if any, of the waivers. So, there is no way I would show you the GPS data showing that this drone is
it's here.
Yeah, that's a little... what the fuck? Oh, shit, why? Why did it disarm? Please don't have broken. The whole thing exploded. The whole thing just exploded into a zillion pieces. That's it. I know that if you come to watch a video,
the sound in JB's voice, I felt for him so much. You could hear it. He's like, "It's go. What was? Oh, it's." And I felt for him in that. I really, really did feel for him. It's that sound of, and what I'll say is this: as a creator, you're trying to do something. He'd done all that work. He'd built it. He'd put it together. He'd done it all. He was at the stage of getting ready to test, and that happened. And it's soul destroying. Honestly, as someone who makes content. It's horrific because you've just put all of this time in and it's all gone to crap. No, it wasn't an ExpressRS failsafe. JB came up against a behavior in Betaflight's way of testing failsafe. He was intentionally testing failsafe, and I think he moved from trigger 1 to trigger 2 accidentally. He tested it and it was in trigger 1, and he tested it again and he left the test on for too long, and then it moved from stage 1 to stage 2, which involved cutting the motors, and it was out then. And it's and it's even worse if you've paid for it. Yeah, and I don't know, did DJI buy that frame? He didn't say. I don't know if he sent it. I don't know the ins and outs of the review, but I have to say I really felt for him in that one. Just a devastating end to it. It really, really is. But JB has a really nice build video on it if you want to watch it. He goes through the whole thing. It's a hell of a video. It really is a hell of a video.
Okay, good. No smoke.
I don't know. He was testing failsafe intentionally, and he did it, and then it seemed to cut. But yeah, it's not clear how to safely set failsafes, but he didn't use his own. Like, we all do it. It's an interesting one, and JB's put a really good video together. I haven't made my mind up on whether to order in one of those frames and try it. It's hard in the UK because anything you do with it is illegal, basically. I really don't know what I can bring to the table on that video. I don't know. Would you guys be interested in seeing one of those builds? Because it ain't cheap. It's a grand build to put one of them together, I guess. I don't really see what I can do for it. I'm not going to fly it at 200 miles an hour. That's the problem. You know, not in the UK. You're not going to be able to do that stuff. The only thing I could do is, what I could do is absolutely a video of me smashing it headlong into the cliffs. That's probably how the video would end. I could do a full-speed beach run into the cliff. That is probably what I could put together, is an absolute full-speed beach run into the cliff. Just... and then that would be it. And that's it. The end of the rocket frame. That would be the way to make the video. Watch me destroy this at 200 miles an hour. But look, I think it's incredibly interesting. But try the moon. Yeah, just set the throttle to 1450 and it's done. Yeah. Yes, for sure. I was within earshot and I had to comment. It would be an amusing video to just nail it into a cliff at full speed. That would be funny. Those who don't study law don't understand. But yeah, I just felt for him, and I watched that video and I was just like, that sucks. That absolutely sucks. Someone was going to ask, someone asked a question earlier on Ross's motors. Am I putting out another video on the AOS 5 Version 5? It's really hard for me to do because, look, I made the video and I said I'm going to make a part 2, and I regret saying that. Here's the truth. Chris's frame is really nice. It's really good. I really like the AOS. It's a great frame. The AOS 5 series is a great frame. I really like the Version 5. Where is it? I like the motors. I think they're great. I cannot genuinely tell you, though, that the motors are any better from a flight perspective than, say, the Zing 2s. I cannot tell you that they're any more efficient. They are definitely a powerful motor. That is for sure. They are incredibly powerful. But have I tried the motors with Zero Expo? Probably not. I can't really say there's any... Look, it's hard because people were like, how amazing are they? They're great motors. They're as good as any other RCM power motor. I think Chris does an amazing job. Chris is a friend. I like Chris a lot. He does great stuff. I do think we're into the territory on some of this stuff of the gains being on paper and not necessarily for everyone quantifiable in the real world. If you're a crap pilot like me, then how much benefit is there? They are absolutely a premium motor. And I think they're great, but I can't tell the difference between the first Supernova and the Zing, but the new Supernovas are super fast. Yeah, Chris has got the new... What, are you talking about the bigger ones, Container Channel? The biggies? Look, Chris, they are as high quality and as good as any motor out there. Can I honestly say they are $6-7 worth $6-7 more than a Zing 2? It's hard for me to quantify, so it's been hard for me to finish that video without saying they're all right. I like them. If you wanna spend some money on Chris Ross's motors, go spend some money on Chris Ross's motors. If you want to spend some money on Chris Ross's frame, absolutely go do it. He makes great frames. But it's into this territory of some of this is very hard to quantify. And the numbers on documents and paper don't always reflect in people like me's real world ability. I have zero issues recommending you buy them if you want to go and support Chris Rosser. I have zero issues recommending you buy them if you are after a very high quality motor. If you're going to say to me, though, should I buy the Chris Rossers or the Zing 2s? And my question to you is, well, do you know who Chris Rosser is and would you like to support him? And if you say, don't really give a toss about who he is, I'm going to say go buy the Zing 2s. But if you said, actually, yeah, Chris makes really loads of great content, then I'd say, well, look, if you think that extra money that you're going to pay for that motor, that's going to Chris Rosser, is going to benefit what you're going to get from him in the future, absolutely go do it. And if you want to support Chris through what he does, like a lot of you support me here through Patreon, buy me a coffee, the donations, and I'll come to the donations in a minute, then do it. But what I'm not going to sit here and tell you is they are the best FPV motor you can buy. They are absolutely night and day better than every other one on the planet. I have to put those motors in the category of buying a t-shirt from a channel. Put them in the category of buying the LTT screwdriver. That is what I would say. I've got an LTT screwdriver. I think it's great. I actually love it. Is it worth the $70, $80 that it costs? No. But I was happy to pay the $70 to support LTT and get a great screwdriver for it. And that's how I would label Ross's motors. Now, Ross's frames is different. Chris's frames are great. I actually really do like Chris's frames. I like a lot of frames. That's the truth of the matter. If you're going to say to me, what's a good 5-inch freestyle frame, I think Chris is a great. And where Chris sets himself apart from a lot, and this is another great thing about the low flow and the other frames, is these custom frame manufacturers, you're going to get parts longevity down the line. Here's the great thing about Chris, and a lot of the other things that Chris has done is this, right? You've got yourself a Speedy B frame. It's great today. You go and buy yourself, right, Speedy B. So let's go and have a look at Speedy B, right? So we got the Speedy B frame. So you want to get yourself a frame and you think, you know what, I like Speedy B. They make great products. They make really good frames. The Mario 5 is a great frame. So let's get ourselves a Mario. We're going to say we want the Mario 5 frame. Here we go. So here's the frame, all looking good. But what if I need spare parts? Well, at the moment, the only spare that seems to be available for it is the top plate. It seems. But you can actually get the other parts under here. So this frame is available. You can get spares. They're available. That's great. However, go now and have a look at a Speedy B frame from last year, right? So if we now go back to one of my favourite Speedy B frames, the FS225, this is a great frame. I really liked this frame. I actually really like this frame. It's discontinued, and you can't get parts for it now. When I've tried to go and get parts for this frame, most of them have been out of stock. Discontinued, you can't even get an arm for it. And that's the problem. Whereas, Chris is, go to CNC Drones, so you can go frames by designer, Chris Rosser, and I'm going to go, right, I want replacement parts for the AOS version 1. So the AOS 5, let's find the AOS 5 version 1, shall we? So the AOS 3.5, 5 version 5, AOS 4 version 5, 5 ultra low 5, let's just keep going back. So if we have a look, I'm not sure where they all fall under, so let me just have a look. So AOS 5 version 5 replacement parts. So this is for the version 5. But he has the parts for, you can get them for pretty much all of the frames that have been built. And that's the nice thing. And if they're not here, search for AOS. Yeah, it's probably better. AOS 5. Here we go. AOS 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, AOS 4. We'll get there in a minute. You can email CNC Drones and they will cut them for you as well. Yeah, they can cut anything. AOS 503 coloured frame replacement parts. AOS 5 version 1. Here you go. AOS 5 version 1 full replacement parts. All there. And that's the great thing. You can get everything for them. Now, someone has said there, that's why you buy 2 frames. Yes. You can argue that you, with Speedy B, could go and buy yourself 2 or 3 of these frames, especially the Mario 5, to be fair. But I like to be able to know I can get a spare part later down the line. But you could get the DC Lite version for 33 and get yourself 2 of them. But that's the nice thing. I'm not saying Chris's frames are the best. I'm not saying they're the worst. They're certainly not. But you have options and you can get replacement parts. As far as we're aware, will be for pretty much ever. Because CNC Drones will cut them for you. And that's the advantage to it. So, when it comes to buying custom frames, and that's going to be the same for the low flow as well. The low flow that I talked about, if we go to kissultra.com, the low flow will be exactly the same. You've got the Mic X version here, which is the one I showed you earlier, so that's available. And then they also have the spare parts available as well. So you've got the plates, top plate, arms, all available as well. Really cool to see. Really cool to see. So, again, this is one of the benefits of buying the more expensive custom manufacturer. Impulse RC are very good. Yeah, they are pretty good, Impulse RC. Haven't built an Impulse frame for a very long time. I've just bought the Afterburner 5 for my flight. Very nice quad. And I'm wondering, what goggles do you recommend? Today, probably the Goggles 2 or Integra. Do you know, here's something interesting. I don't own an Apex. I broke an Apex years ago and I haven't built one since. I haven't owned an Apex frame for a very, very long time. A very, very long time. A lot of people swear by these frames. A lot of people swear by these frames. Overpriced and sold because steel flies them. The Mr. Steel edition. Yeah, look, it's certainly a nice frame. There's no question about that. Fake from Ali. Yeah, I have seen that there are fakes of them out there. Be actually a good video, wouldn't it? Do they call the fakes Apex frame? Do they call them an Apex frame? Are the fakes called that? So your FPV has the official ones. 5-inch frame. Can you get the fake Apexes? What do they call the fake ones? Top right. Ah, so your FPV 5-inch. So this is basically the fakies. So if I look for Apex, Impulse RC. So let's have a look. That feels like a bit of a video, that does. So these are the clone versions here. I didn't open that up properly. Bollocks. I'm going to have to do that again. Here we go. So, that's the camera plates at the sides. Very similar, isn't it? Very, very similar. Is missing the real problem of a clone rip-off of someone's work. Did I fly the Tony 5? Yes. It's a nice frame. Just don't look at it too hard. The arms will fall off. But it's a really nice frame. Really lightweight. I am behind on a lot of content. There's a lot of content I just couldn't get finished because of the weather this year. It is a bit weird comparing the lightweights. T-Source Senna 5. Is that one of the clones? Is that one of them? just go backwards and try and find that. Sorry, wrong button. I need to swap those two buttons around. TO saw center 5. Is that no? Is that a so that's a frame kit on Banggood though. Let's have a look. When do I think 04 standalone will hit? Probably February. TO saw Apex 5. Wow, they're making that obvious. They are making that really obvious, aren't they? Those arms look very, very long on that. Someone put 6-inch arms on that. That looks okay. That looks weird. That looks okay. What happened to the November drop for 04 people were talking about? DJI delayed it, is what happened. I think that must be the 7. There's a 7. That must be the 7. 1449. Wow. Someone else said another using Nazgul props. That's a cheap frame, innit? Let's be honest. That is a cheap frame. That is crazy, really, when you think about it, isn't it? That's... And someone said there's another one as well. What was the name of the other one? Someone... Over Frequency, is it? TBS, is that another one? On AliExpress. Oh, here we go. So, $17. Frame kit. Very similar again. Yep, got 2 of them for Spiz. I might order in a couple of these and have a look at what they're really like. Be interesting. And ordering a proper Apex as well to see if the what the carbon quality difference is like. See how easy the plates snap. That's the interesting thing in it. How the plates hold up. That's an interesting. You know, you almost don't want to fly it. This is really about, you know, arms. What is the quality like between these frames on the bench, and what do they like to put together? That's probably a video. Video quality sucks, but I fly them almost every day. I bet you don't break it. $100 each. Yeah, that is a substantial price difference. Be interesting to see the fake alongside the genuine, wouldn't it? That would be interesting. I want to get a real one because they're great. But been flying fake Apexes for years. Carbon is not the best, but you get 4 frames for the price of 1. It would be very interesting just to lay out the 3 next to each other. I think, look, flight crash testing is almost impossible because it's not possible to do 3 crashes exactly the same. You'd have to have like a jig to smash them all in the same way. And you could do 1,000,000 tests. What would actually be interesting is plate thicknesses, arm thicknesses, bending, So, you know, what do they bend like compared to the other frames? And when you've assembled them, what they're like to assemble, and how much movement is in the parts once they're assembled. Black box noise would be interesting, but again, it's very subjective on the build. It's, you know, do you know what? Armatons, never been a fan of Armatons. I have an Armaton here, which was the worst frame I ever had for vibration. Honestly, I could never not get that frame to vibrate in Betaflight. Yes, you do have the lifetime warranty on the Apexes, don't you? Apex does give you a lifetime warranty, so there is a benefit there as well. Right, I need to catch up on a super chat. Milford Killian Dawson, thanks for the entertainment during the evening building. I emailed something you were interested in on a previous live stream. Let me know if you'd like to try it. Yes, sorry, look, people are reaching out to me everywhere. I've got to show you guys something. Something I've just remembered. I've got to show you guys something. This is cool. This is very cool. Now I've got to find it. When I find it, I will show it to you. Now I've lost it. I am so behind on stuff. It's crazy at the moment. Honestly, I can't cope. It is insane. Let me find it. I put it safe. And that's the risk. Why did I put it safe? I need to tidy up. Where's it gone? I thought it was over here. Where's it gone? It's really cool. But now I can't find it. Ah! Why does this happen to me? Why does this happen to me? Damn it! I've put them to start testing, and I can't now see where I've put them to start testing. They should be on this shelf here, because everything for testing goes on that shelf. And there's a bunch of stuff there, but it's not what I'm looking for. It's not that. It's gone! Where has it gone? I am in such a mess. It is crazy. Honestly, it's really frustrating. Right, I'm going to have to find that for this week. Where has that gone? Is it on here? A little while ago, I mentioned on this channel about the iFlight Spark Saver failing. And as part of that, we had a discussion, and I had this idea about creating a soft start power switch for your drone that would power it up after about 20 seconds. Now, someone was watching this and has made that product. And the idea is to have a 20-second timer. So when you plug your battery in, you put the quad down and it then powers up after a time. Now your hands are out the way. And that is a really cool idea. Now, let me just find the email because I need to check if he's got his website as well. Let me just find it because at least I can show you the website. And they're here. I've started looking at them. They look really cool. And it's going to be really interesting. Right, so. Is this his website? Let me just check. Copy address. I might have found the website. Very cool idea. I don't know, does he... No, it's not listed yet. So it's not even listed on his website as being available, so I can't show you. But I need to find it, and I will be making a video about it. But it is really cool that he listened to what I was talking about and actually built the product I was talking about. Now, what's annoying me is it came in, I was looking at them, I was playing with them on the bench, and I was like, that's cool. And I've put them down, and I just cannot see where I have put them down. And the reason is I am in a big mess here at the moment. It's a really cool thing. Really cool. Let me just look one more time. I am annoyed that they're not where they should be, because they were put ready to show you guys, and they now have vanished. It's always the same every time. Oh, I'm in a right mess here at the moment. I am in a crazy mess here at the moment. It's sad, if I'm honest. Completely sad, completely unacceptable. I can't find all. What's annoying me is they should be there, because they should have been there. Let me just check something. Let me just check something, because they should have been there. No. I've put them too safe, I have. This is the problem. You put things too safe and then you can't find them. No, I found the motors. I put them in a quad. Really annoyed at that. My problem is I've had a lot of stuff turn up. That's the problem. And it's put me a little bit out of sorts. No, it's not that. It's not that. What's probably happened is it's moved and I haven't spotted it's moved. No. Right, I will find it for now. Look somewhere near that's convenient and flat. Yeah, that's the truth of it. I thought I put it... To be honest, I thought they went on the testing shelf. I am 99% they ended up on the testing shelf. But they're not on the testing shelf. Which is why I'm now annoyed. Because... Problem is, they came in little bags as well. They weren't very big. So things like that can easily vanish in here. But I wanted to show you because it was really cool. Really cool. What's really cool about it is someone heard what I said and then when I made a product about it. But I'm going to have to rip this place apart tomorrow to go find it. Right. Never reorder any... Oh, yeah, tell me about it. You put something down and it vanishes. I'm just used to them. Someone asked... So in general, can you recommend the Goggles N3? Price is reasonable. For the price, absolutely worth it. But if you... Look, what I say in the video is this. If you only have a budget of $230 and you don't care about the older FPV system, then consider them. If you care about the older FPV system, consider Goggles 2 or Integra. It's that simple. If you can afford the best goggles and you want the very best, then get Goggles 3. It's not that they're bad. It's just for the money, they're outstanding, but they're not as good as the Goggles 3. And it's just that simple. It's just that simple. Right, we're going to end this stream there. I want to say a big thank you for spending time with me. Look after yourselves. We should be back same time, same place next week. A big thank you to the Super Chat tonight. £10. Really appreciate it. Please do check out FPV Wiki. Images for them will be going up tomorrow. Review of them coming out tomorrow. Stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.